Welcome, everyone, to the Hockey North podcast. I'm your host today, Tyler Croom, joined today with Brendan Pawliw. Brendan, how are you doing?
Well, it was a busy weekend and it finally wrapped up pretty much on a good note, but no shortage of events to cover.
Perfect. And I know you mentioned you had a busy weekend, lots of sporting events going on in town. How busy was it for you with all that was on your plate?
Well, four soccer games with the UNBC Timberwolves, the UNBC men clinching at least third in the Canada West men's playoff picture with a win over the UBC Okanagan Heat on Sunday. That was followed up by a 2-2 tie on Saturday. So they clinch at least third heading into the final weekend against the Fraser Valley Cascades. With UNBC women not so lucky, not heading to the playoffs following a 4-2 loss to UBC Okanagan, as well as a 1-0 defeat on Friday to Thompson Rivers, so they will not qualify in the top five. Cariboo Cougar 5-3 victory. I broadcasted that game with you at Kin number 1 on Saturday. And, of course, the Prince George Cougars falling 4-1 to the top-rated Kootenay Ice. And we have a brand new mayor in Prince George. His name is Simon Yu, beating out experienced councillor Terry McConaughey for the mayor's chair. Of course, Lynn Hall deciding not to run earlier this fall. So no shortage of intrigue this weekend here in the city of Prince George, both athletically and politically.
Absolutely. Definitely a lot going on around town. And let's first start off here with how our Northern athletes are doing across the Junior A and Junior B ranks.
Well, first we'll go to the Alberta Junior Hockey League for the Spruce Grove Saints. We have two players on Spruce Grove, as you know, in Hunter Brown, as well as Brophy Dunn of the Spruce Grove Saints. Hunter Brown, a point per game pace, the Fort St. John product, 9 points in 10 games. Taking a look at his action from the past week or so, 2-assist game against Drayton Valley on October the 8th. That was followed up by a 1-assist effort against the very same Thunder down on the road. In Grand Prairie, Decker Moinchin finding himself on a new roster, of course, that being with the Storm, as he's winless in 4 games since the trade over to the Storm. He's joining another former Cariboo Cougar in Owen Pulverman, who has 1 assist in 7 games in Grand Prairie. So Moinchin now suiting up for head coach Eric Thurston of the Grand Prairie Storm. Taking a look at the BCHL, John Harrington, Lyndon Macau, and Jordan Fairley all in action for the Prince George Spruce Kings. Jordan Fairley improving to 6-0 in the young season following a 2-1 shootout victory against the Vernon Vipers on Friday. He's got a 1.64 goals against average to go along with a .933 save percentage. Spruce Kings, of course, like I mentioned, winning on Friday, losing 4-2 on Saturday to the Salmon Arms Silverbacks. Lyndon Macau and John Harrington left off the score sheet in both of those games. Also in the BCHL, West Kelowna Warriors, Prince George product, Aiden Reeves. He's the captain of West Kelowna, still stuck on 1 assist in 7 games so far this season. Fort St. John's, Quinn Disher having a point per game start to the year for the Trail Smoke Eaters, 6 points in 8 games. He had a helper on Saturday against the Cranbrook Bucks after being held off the score sheet the night prior at home against the Salmon Arms Silverbacks. As we take a look at the BCHL a little bit more in-depthly here with Northern products, as we have obviously covered the Spruce Kings and the Trail Smoke Eaters. Brady McIsaac still with the Alberni Valley Bulldogs as they continue on with their season as well. And, of course, our guest this week, Diego Johnson of Fort St. James, he, of course, suiting up for the Merritt Centennials. They scrapped it out, losing in overtime 5-4 to the top-rated Penticton Vs. As we see Diego's stats early on in the season, he has 5 points in 7 games. His last point was October the 8th, right here in Prince George in a 6-4 defeat against the host Spruce Kings. He did not register a point in that overtime loss up against the Penticton Vs. MJ Lamar Power still sticking it out in Swan Valley with the Stampeders, 2 points in 9 games. He has now gone 6 consecutive contests without a point. In the SJHL, Alex Ochidwa enjoying a renaissance of sorts with the Nipawin Hawks, 7 points in 13 games for Nipawin on the season. We'll take a look at the game-by-game stats. It's on a 2-game goal-scoring streak, actually. as he scored against the Yorkton Terriers on October 11th, followed by another goal against the Humboldt Broncos. Also in the SJHL, Jackson Hassman of Prince George, 5 points in 11 games, 4 of them goals. He, of course, suiting up for the Weyburn Red Wings. His last action came October 6th, 7th, and 8th during a 3-game road trip against the Nipawin Hawks, as well as a pair against the Battleford's North Stars. He's also got a pair of 12 penalty minute games coupled in there as well from earlier in the season. So Jackson Hassman still with the Weyburn Red Wings. In Junior B, Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League, Chase Pacheco lighting up with the Port Alberta Bombers. He's got 13 points in 12 games to speak of. And in a pretty big night on Friday against the Nanaimo Buccaneers, 3 goals and 1 helper. That was followed up by a 1-assist game against the Princeton Posse there. So some 2 really good games there from Chase Pacheco. Shifting gears now to the Kootenay International Junior Hockey League. Obviously, we have the northern-based 100-Mile House Wranglers, which now are the new team of Tyson Smith, who was recently with the Spruce Grove Saints. He's 1-1 on the season, 2.88 goals against average, .922 save percentage. No shortage of northern content on this 100-Mile House team. Mason Pincott of 100-Mile House. Williams Lake product Curtis Ruda. Also from Williams Lake, Jace Myers, Terrace product Caden Stark, Jackson Altwasser, also of Williams Lake, Ethan Davies, Zachary Gall of Terrace, another Terrace product, and Jack Mulder, Kieran Planetta of Prince George. He has not registered a point as of yet through a handful of games with the Wranglers. Ethan Sanders, also a 100-Mile House product. Matt Tucker manning the blue line for the Wranglers. He's from Smithers, as is Boston Pierce of Williams Lake. Keaton Ertz, number 11 for the Wranglers. He's from Quesnel. And rounding out that blue line of the Northern products is Ethan Hofstrand. Lighting it up in goal for the Nelson Leafs is Jasper Tate, the former Cariboo Cougar. He moved to 4-0 out of the 6 games that he has played, thanks to a recent victory in net. That was against the Beaver Valley Nighthawks on Saturday. 26 saves, 28 shots, 2.28 goals against average, .935 save percentage. So Jasper Tate having lots of success in the Nelson Leafs crease. And let's not forget about Jack Henderson of the Osoyoos Coyotes, rather. He's got 11 points in 6 games and having a career year of sorts in the Junior B ranks, rather, as October the 8th, he had 3 goals and 1 helper against the Kelowna Chiefs, followed up by a 1-assist game against Creston Valley. That, of course, was on the Saturday. So there you have it. No shortage of Northern hockey products to speak of in both the Junior A and Junior B ranks. And we'll throw it over back to you for the Western Hockey League and Cariboo hockey update here on our podcast.
Thank you very much for that, Brendan. And yeah, we'll head on to the Western Hockey League here. We'll start off with Nico Majadovic with the Seattle Thunderbirds. He's having a tremendous start to the year. 7 points in 7 games, 4 goals, 3 assists, and only one of those points is on the power play with 1 power play goal. So it's cool to see that Nico Majadovic has been a very steady, even strength performer, and it's his draft here. So for him being on such a good Seattle team with the points he's putting up, he's definitely eyeing down impressing the scouts and trying to earn his way to the NHL draft next summer. And then we'll go on to Saskatoon with Tanner Mollendijk, the McBride BC product. In 7 games, he's got 0 goals, 3 assists, and 3 points. He's good for a +5. This year he's looked quite good. He's been a pretty solid defensive presence there for Saskatoon, as they've had a pretty good start to the year so far. And that's a name you'll want to keep looking into, as he too is looking to work his way to hopefully hear his name at the draft floor next summer. Now into Lethbridge, Chetwynd BC product, Hayden Smith. Over the last weekend here, he scored his first 2 goals of the year. He's got 2 goals, 2 points in 9 games. His teammate and former 9th overall draft pick by the Lethbridge Hurricanes, Miguel Marcus, also a Prince George BC product. He's got 1 goal in 9 games so far in his rookie season. He's a really, really talented player that we saw quite a bit here in Prince George as he developed his way through the minor hockey system here and spent time here with the Cariboo hockey program and to see him be in a position to really showcase his talent at the Western Hockey League level is something that we definitely enjoy being able to follow. And Scott Cousins is currently suiting up for the Kelowna Rockets. He's only played 3 games this year, but right now the Rockets, they're starting to really pick up the heat a little bit. So we'll see if Scott Cousins and the Kelowna Rockets can really start to push their way to the top of the BC division. And last but not least, we're going to go with Caden Brown and Fisher O'Brien here with the Prince George Cougars. Caden Brown, the Fort St. John, BC product, got 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points in 8 games. And Fisher O'Brien, also the same, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points in 8 games, providing a steady 2-way game for the Prince George Cougars. And of course, as over the last weekend here, they didn't quite get the results that they were looking for as a team, but definitely no shortage of effort there as they look to continue on in this early Western Hockey League season. And then now we are going to be heading to our Cariboo Hockey Weekly Report. We're going to start off with the 2 home teams. Well, the 1 home team this weekend, the U18 AAA Cougars, starting off the weekend hosting the Thompson Blazers. They got a 5-3 win on Saturday. Fort St. John, BC product, Mason Lowen, player of the game for us. He had 3 goals and 4 goals total on the weekend, but in that first game, notably, his first BC Elite Hockey League goal and his first BC Elite Hockey League hat trick. So 2 milestones, 2 game pucks for the first year. It's really cool to see him really get early progress here in this season. And on Sunday, it was a 5-0 win for the Cariboo Cougars. And Parker White, the Prince George BC product, was our player of the game for that one, as he had 2 goals and 1 assist and was a notable driving factor for that offense. Now we move on to the U17 AAA Cougars. They earned the weekend split here with a Sunday win, 4-1 over the Hawks after losing 4-3 on Saturday. The U15 AAA Cougars unfortunately weren't so fateful. They lost 2-0 on the Saturday, and then they lost 6-2 again on Sunday. In the Northern Capitals, they didn't play this weekend. It was their bye weekend, but they're looking ahead to their home opener this Friday at 6:45 in Kin 1. That's something you definitely will not want to miss. And they also have their Truth and Reconciliation game on the Saturday in Kin 2, another game you definitely will want to check out here in Prince George. And then followed up by their 3rd game in 3 days on Sunday. So lots of hockey here to be had at the Kin Center.
Yeah, no shortage of action for sure. Nice to see the Cariboo U18s pick up their 4th win in a row on Sunday to defeat Thompson 5-0, as you mentioned. So no shortage of hockey action. And of course, let's have some support for our female AAA team, the Northern Capitals. They were out and about at the Cougars game on Saturday, promoting their trio of home games starting on Friday against the Greater Vancouver Comets. So lots of hockey action here in the Northern Capital. It's only about to get busier as the deeper we go into the season.
No, for sure. And I think this is going to be the first, obviously, games the Capitals have played at home. They've had a pretty lengthy road schedule. So to start the year, so it's going to be an exciting thing for them to be able to get on home ice for the first time this year and put on a show for the supporting fans here in Prince George.
And speaking of hockey, our guest on the podcast this week, I mentioned him a little bit earlier in my Junior A and Junior B recap, Fort St. James product, Diego Johnson of the Merritt Centennials. I sat down with him earlier about his near point per game start with the Centennials. His parents moved with him to Merritt for his junior hockey tenure, talking about playing for a community that's recovering from last fall's floods, as well as trying to bring up the sense in the ultra-competitive Interior Conference after a couple of rough seasons. And here is my chat with Diego Johnson of the Merritt Centennials, our guest this week on the Hockey North podcast. All right, and with Diego Johnson, Fort St. James product and rookie forward with the Merritt Centennials. Diego, you're off to a very good start in the BCHL with Merritt. I guess first and foremost, how do you feel the first few games of your season are going, and has it gone the way that you'd want it to?
I mean, yeah, I feel like we've had a good start to the season. I mean, me personally, I feel like I've definitely kind of exceeded my expectations from how the start's gone, but I mean, it feels good to get, I mean, a couple off the start, kind of get the monkey off your back early. But I feel like we've had a good start to the season as a group and me individually. So hopefully we can keep it rolling here.
Yeah, you've got 3 goals, 1 assist in the first 4 games of the season for the Centennials. Just maybe talk about what's going right for you.
I feel like I've adjusted well to the junior pace. I feel like I'm a good skater and I can stay at the compete level that junior hockey's at right now. I feel like I'm already there. I feel like I didn't really have to waste time, kind of, catching up to the junior pace. I feel like I was already there and I've adapted well to the pace, you could say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you know, Merritt Centennials haven't had the most on ice success over the past 2 to 3 seasons. You're part of a rebuilding process that looks to climb up the BCHL standings this season. What drew you to Merritt, and what did the coaching staff kind of tell you in the recruiting phase that this would be a good fit for you?
Yeah, opportunity to play as a 16-year-old, which doesn't happen very often. So I'm really appreciative of that, of the great opportunity you gave me. My parents moved to Merritt last summer, so I kind of had that in the back of my mind that it would be like a good fit, that I could live back at home again and live with my parents and play junior hockey. So I went to a spring camp here in Merritt, and I mean, Curtis gave me an opportunity, and I took it, and now I'm playing here and living with my parents and playing in Merritt. So started.
And of course, as you know, the town went through that massive flooding last fall. Team was evacuated, finally got back in. It's a tight-knit community. The Centennials are a big deal in that town. You've got the older rink, which is very well known in the BCHL circles. You kind of see it as not necessarily a calling, but being a part of, kind of that rebuilding process in a much smaller scale, not just on the hockey side, but just in terms of being helping out, in terms of giving the community something to cheer for.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I feel like it's a big part of the community. Just having like a team here and something that people can do. I mean, there's not a ton going on here, and I feel like it's a big thing that we have a junior team, especially in the BCHL, that, I mean, people can come and support. And I feel like if we give back to them, treat them with all respect, I mean, they're gonna come and watch. So I feel like it's a good thing that Merritt has this team, and I feel like it's a good thing that people can come out and watch. I feel like it's good.
Mm-hmm. What's it like playing in an older rink like Merritt's?
I mean, I haven't really, like, growing up in Fort St. James. I mean, we actually have a pretty good rink there. So I mean, it's not anything crazy, because the rink in Fort St. James isn't anything special, but it's definitely a smaller rink it's definitely the smallest and littlest in the BCHL. So it kind of suits our game, though. I mean, I feel like our team is it's a harder team, and we do have speed, but I feel like in a smaller rink we can play well. But it's definitely different for sure.
Now, you talked about growing up in Fort St. James, playing in the Fort Forum, likely playing outdoors too, on some ponds or some outdoor ice surfaces. How did you first get into hockey in Fort St. James, and did you have any local idols growing up that you looked up to?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of just a thing around Fort St. James. Like you grow up, you join hockey right at the age that you can, like in Tykes or whatever, or when you hit 5. So I mean, a lot of ice when every winter I grew up on the lake, Stewart Lake in Fort St. James. So I got the privilege to go out there basically whenever I want, just get the shovel out and skate out there whenever I want. But I mean, yeah, there's been some NHLers come out of Fort St. James. The Playfair family, basically all of them made up to the NHL. Jimmy's just finished coaching with the Edmonton Oilers. So yeah, I mean, I feel like we've had a couple idols grow up from Fort St. James and come back every summer. So it's good to see them and stuff. It's kind of a motivator. I feel like I can get there too. So it's good to have them around.
some two recent names that maybe you looked up to, former Cariboo Cougar grads in Lane Goodwin and Demarcus Allen.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Those guys are, when they do the Winter Classic game in Fort St. James, I mean, it's a cool thing that I always went out and watched them, and it's, knowing them they're from my hometown is pretty cool. So it's good to have those guys around too. When I was growing up, it was good motivation as well.
Now, you took a little bit of a different path from Fort St. James. You decided to go the sports school route and go to OHA. Why choose that route instead of going to, let's say, the Cariboo Cougars or the more traditional route, so to speak, where you kind of play, U15, U17, U18, and then you make the gradual jump afterwards?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I played in Fort St. James all the way up till I was in Adam second year, and then Pee Wee. Me and my family decided that I was going to play Tier 1 in Prince George, so I tried out there and played in Prince George for 2 years. In Pee Wee, ran into some great coaches there, and Mike McKay, Travis Redmond, Brent McIsaac. I mean, those guys, had a great group with them. I mean, my family had massive sacrifices for me. We drive to Prince George, hour and 45 minutes twice a week just for practices, and then games would ever get me up to Prince George on the weekends. So it was a lot of commuting for us. And then when I hit Bantam, we decided that Okanagan Hockey Academy in Penticton would be the best for my development path. So I went there and lived in Penticton for 3 years, and it was awesome. Obviously high level coaching there. I ran into some awesome coaches like Robert Dirk, Dennis McKinnon, Mike Needham. They were wonderful for me. I loved all of them. I feel like it was great for my development. So that's kind of why I chose that. So
the last season, you pretty much put up a point per game pace, 42 points on the season. How did you feel last season went for you at OHA?
I feel like it was a good season. I mean, we had a good group of guys. I mean, I think we have four or five guys that moved on to play junior. I mean, our starting goalies playing for the Blazers this year. We have a guy in the AJHL in Spokane. We have a guy, Cole Wadsworth. I mean, we had a good group, and I feel like our team, I mean, we figured it out at the end of the year. I mean, we beat one of the best teams in our league in Delta. I think they've only had 2 losses all year, and one of them was to us. So I feel like I had a good season individually, and as a group, we did good too. So
seems like you really broke out in the playoffs, 15 points in 4 playoff games.
Yeah, I kind of had a little hot streak there in playoffs. We got into high scoring games, and I found a way to got a couple. I think the last one I had like 6 points or something in the last game against Okanagan. But yeah, we just ran into some high scoring games, and it's kind of how it played out.
Yeah. Do you have any players in the NHL or in the junior leagues at all that you kind of emulate your game after or that you look up to?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, growing up, I was always a center until this year. I'm kind of been playing on the wing, but I've always kind of tried to model my game after someone like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or Bo Horvat. I mean, I feel like I play a 200-foot game, but also have an offensive edge to me, and I like to pride myself on my compete level. And both of those guys are very responsible in their own end and offensively. So I feel like those are the 2 guys that I've kind of like to model my game after.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What are some of your goals for the season in Merritt, and maybe what are some of your more long-term goals in terms of hockey? Do you kind of see yourself playing pro, landing an NCAA scholarship? What are kind of the more short-term goals and maybe long-term goals that you're shooting for?
Yeah, I feel like my short-term goals are just to help this team improve. I feel like we've already improved tremendously from what it was last year here. So I feel like just focus on this year as a group and help this team win. Long-term goals, I haven't really decided yet fully. I mean, I have Western League options, being drafted to Seattle, but then also I have NCAA options from playing in the BCHL, obviously. So I feel like I keep my options open and see what happens. But typically I'd love to play pro. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to play hockey for as long as I can. So that's the long-term goal, is to play for hockey as long as I can, basically.
I know it's early in the BCHL season. You're only a handful of games in, but have you noticed maybe a change in the culture in the dressing room in the sense? And what has maybe Curtis and the associate coaches, Jeremy Jackson, what have they tried to do to kind of change the mood around the locker room that maybe might not have been the most pleasant of places over the past 2 to 3 seasons?
Yeah, I feel like it's just create a winning environment. I feel like everyone's here because we wanna get better and we want this team to improve. I mean, I feel like this town has put up with the team not being that well in the past couple of years, and I feel like we're all willing to make that change this year. So that's kind of been our goal, and Curtis has got that into our heads pretty good. So that's kind of what path we're taking here.
Mm-hmm. Well, Diego, it was an absolute pleasure speaking with you on your early success in the BCHL, and I'm sure maybe we'll cross paths again in the not too distant future.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you, Diego.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So that was Diego Johnson, our guest on the Hockey North podcast this week. Any final thoughts on this week's episode as we get set to crank up another week of hockey here across northern BC?
My final thoughts, as I forgot to mention earlier, Ella Boon, Northern Capitals alumni. She was the captain of the team last year, the Vanderhoof BC product, currently playing for the Trinity Western Spartans. She got her first college goal over the weekend, and that is a milestone you'll never forget. So a big congratulations from us at the HockeyNorth podcast to Ella Boon. And it's always cool to see a player that, we've been able to be fortunate enough to follow over the last few years develop and be able to cheer her on as she goes on to her next stage.
Yeah, Ella Boon, Brooklyn Hutchings, Carson Niven, all three teammates with the Capitals last year. And I'm sure I'll make every effort possible to contact Trinity Western to see if we can get them on one of our shows and put them across our social media platforms this season. Ella Boon, of course, a product of Vanderhoof. Brooklyn Hutchings, of course, a Prince George product. Carson Niven, also from the north. So nice to see that the Lower Mainland School is taking notice of the Northern Capitals program as all three teammates again at the university level. That'll pretty much do it here for our episode on the Hockey North podcast this week. Special thanks to Diego Johnson for joining us on the pod, as well as the wrap-ups of the Junior A and Junior B ranks, as well as obviously Ella Boon getting her first university goal at the Canada West level. No shortage of hockey content to be had this weekend as well, and plan to bring you a lot more here in the weeks and months ahead. For my host, or our host rather, and founder Tyler Kroom, this is Brendan Pawliw saying good night, and we hope to see you back here next Tuesday.
I need to know.